Oh, Captain, my Captain, it is week 16 here at Club Fantasy FFL. We're doing our DFS Showdown slates. Thursday night football, the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's get into the preview. Well, low-level production value just starting right out of the gates here in week 16. I might have to go back through and edit that. We'll see how I feel after this show. But I'm Josh Hudson, the host here at Oh Captain, My Captain. Austin Amandolia at Austin_FFL. He's our DFS expert here at Club Fantasy. Hopefully, Austin, you're doing a little bit better than my intro there.
Yeah, doing great. It's wild that it's week 16. I was talking to my partner who's like, there's 3 weeks left of the regular season, which it doesn't feel like it, but somehow we're here.
It's crazy because in the middle of the season, it always kind of feels like, oh man, things are really dragging. And then next thing you know, it's like, boom, you're in the fantasy football championships. You're coming down to the wire in your DFS lineups and the season, the whole 9 yards. You got 6 weeks left basically when you figure in, playoffs and then, a 2-week break for the Super Bowl. And then it's like, we really want to gamble on the XFL.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
But you know what? Some degenerates do. And you know what? That's cool. But we're here to talk about the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday night football. Austin, tell everybody where they can play these Thursday night slates against us.
Yes, we have a league on DraftKings. You can find the link in the show description to join the league and play against us and other members of Club Fantasy and other just random people who play DFS. We put on two $2 contests every week, one for the Thursday night showdown slate, one for the Sunday main slate. They're 12-person contests. Haven't been filling up lately, so sometimes you just have to beat 5 people to win the tournament, which is nice. But I would like to beat 11 people, which would be nice.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So share with your friends and let's bring in some fine folks and, take our money because, we're all about helping other people at this point. Before we get into the meat and everything, let's pay a few bills. Check out our sister site, Women in Fantasy Football, and their partnership with Trophy Smack. Head over to trophysmack.com/WOFF. You can get yourself championship belts, championship rings, trophies, wall smack to decorate your office, hallways, kids' rooms. All of it is customizable. Show off those wins. Take down your fantasy leagues. Take down your tournaments. Take down the Club Fantasy tournaments, right? All of that you can get to celebrate at trophysmack.com/WOFF. You can find the links directly in the description of the video on YouTube or the podcast, wherever you're listening. All of the commissions that we earn from this link go towards helping us support women in sports. We have the, which is the word I'm looking for? We have the privilege of being able to get passes for different NFL media credentialed events, the Super Bowl, the Combine, the NFL Draft. Any link or commissions we earn from this link, we want to be able to provide these ladies more than just the passes. So if you're buying that championship swag, head over to trophysmack.com/WOFF. WOFF. All right, Austin, let's get into it. The first segment is Captain Chalk. These are the chalky captains. God, I cannot speak today. That everyone is likely to pick because they are just that damn good. Austin, he's been struggling a little bit with an injury. Tell us why you like Justin Herbert here in this matchup.
Yeah, Josh, you take a few days off and suddenly you're just all over podcast. No, I like Justin Herbert. I mean, first off, I do think he's going to be the most highly rostered player on this slate. The Los Angeles Chargers are 3-point favorites in this matchup. And so usually it so happens that the favorite quarterback is the most chalky captain. I've been going back and forth on this on whether or not I would like to eat the chalk in this matchup because on the one hand, Justin Herbert hurt. not really had high volume games this year. Like I remember talking about best ball in the early season, like, oh, if he gets 35 passes per game, like that's still pretty good. Well, he's been doing it. It's been kind of meh. Like he's really kind of averaging around 200 passing yards per game, a touchdown or two. He hasn't had a ton of like 3 touchdown games. So he hasn't been great, but then the matchup is seemingly really good. Denver has allowed the third most points to the quarterback position since week 12. So they've been giving up the points here recently. And the Chargers have seemingly abandoned the run in recent weeks with no J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards and Kamadi Vidal barely touched the ball. So you could cut it either way. And I think I'm landing on the side that I like having Justin Herbert in my captain spot. And I think there is a way to build this where this game hits the over and it's 2 passing games that maybe don't score a ton of touchdowns, but they put up a bunch of passing guard production because neither team is really running the ball very well at the time. So I think it's fine chalk to take, especially in smaller contests. I'm not going to be doing it every time because I think that the upside does feel limited at this point with the quarterbacks in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 2 pretty good defenses at the very minimum, 2 pretty good run defenses. You can definitely throw on the Chargers outside of Patrick Surtain. If you can find a way to avoid him, you can throw on Denver. So, all right, let's get to the next section here. That's going to be the Mutineer. These are contrarian captain choices that offer some variety and upside in larger tournaments. My favorite one from this list, Austin, I've been high on him for many years. It's been very nice to see him come to fruition. And he has not had a game under 9 targets since week 7. Why do you like Cortland Sutton as an alternate here?
Because he has had 9 or more targets in every game since week 7. Honestly, that is the truth, though. Like he has the PPR value that is incredible for this. And also keep in mind, when he's in your captain spot, he's getting 1.5 points. So every time he catches a ball, it's another 1.5 points, just rocketing you up the board. I do think he's going to also be pretty chalky. I think he could actually compete with Justin Herbert for rostership percentage in the captain spot because of how good he is and the dearth of talent elsewhere in this matchup for a showdown slate. But I'm willing to eat that because I think he has the best chance to be the number 1 player in this game. And I think it's a pretty good chance. Like I think there's probably at least a 30 to 40% chance that he is the highest scoring player in this matchup, which you may say 30 to 40%. That's not a lot. For this context, there's a lot. That's to me, that's a lot. And I think that's being conservative. So I definitely am chasing the volume there and willing to go after it. Also, again, Denver has not been good running the ball recently. They've also been abandoning the run and just passing the ball. Some of that is game script related, but some of it is just their run game has not been efficient, which flies in the face of my other player for this category.
But I think you set yourself up for that. But I was going to.
I think there's a good reason to play into this. So I am interested in Javonte Williams in the captain spot. If nothing else, he's going to be getting different, right? I don't think he's going to be rostered that much because people are going to look at his statistics and say, what the heck, this guy sucks. And then they're going to try and go find Jaleel McLaughlin and realize, oh, he's not playing in this game. And then they're going to say, well, what about that Audric Estimate kid? And it's like, yeah, he hasn't been playing super well either. So none of the running back options are good, but it's the total line is at 41.5. It's pretty low. It's one of the lower total lines for this weekend. So it should be a slow game script. Maybe this game hits the under. Like these 2 defenses are pretty good, and they have enough skill set on the pass defense side that they can stop drives here and there. And more notably, the Chargers are actually a decent matchup for running backs, especially in recent weeks. Since week 12, Chargers have allowed the 8th most points to the running back position out of any team. That's like, top 10 matchup. It's not lighting the world on fire. Like there's a lot of teams bunched together in that mid pack and that 8 to 16 range, but it is a decent matchup for those running backs. And I think it could be a good opportunity for Denver to say, let's get our run game right. Let's figure it out and have a game where we're seeing success. And honestly, this game could be low scoring enough that if Javonte Williams has 2 rushing yards, but they're 2 touchdowns, that might be pretty great for your captain spot. So again, I'm not doing it a ton. I recommend it more in larger field tournaments where you're going to be getting especially different, but I think it's worth considering Javonte Williams as a captain.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the last time that the Broncos played on Thursday night, that was week 7 against the Saints, right? And Javonte Williams had 26.1 fantasy points. So maybe on these short weeks, they tend to rely more on their running game. But you brought up the point with Julian McLaughlin being out. He's got a quad injury. Javonte Williams is the better pass catcher between him and Audric Estime. So if they want to use more dump offs, short passes, that kind of thing at the running back position, I think that's going to favor Williams over Audric Estime. Let's go to the next section here. This is going to be the first mate. Every captain needs a reliable crew. These are going to be the standouts that maximize your lineup. It's a club fantasy favorite here, Mr. Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, what's funny about this is he was not a favorite of mine in the preseason, but I've been being sold throughout the course of the year. Ladd McConkey, it's just on the Charger side of the ball, he's the most likely to catch the most passes. And so that's what makes him reliable. He has a pretty safe floor. His role in this offense is pretty good. And I was doing some digging ahead of this show because whenever somebody's playing the Broncos, the conversation about Pat Surtain always comes up. And I noticed, I don't think Pat Surtain's been doing a ton of shadowing in recent weeks when it's kind of a ambiguous receiver room and there's not like a clear elite, like one of one top 5 receiver in the league. He's not really shadowing guys. He's not moving with receivers throughout the matchup. And so it could be easy to say, oh, well, McConkey's the number 1 target, and so Surtain's going to cover him and shut him down. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to use Surtain differently, use him more as a chess piece in this matchup defensively, which will give McConkey plenty of opportunities to still go up. And maybe his rostership is actually coming down because people are afraid of Pat Surtain.
Well, the thing with McConkey, 53 of his 87 targets have come out of the slot. Patrick Surtain is an outside corner. He's not moving into the slot. The way that they move Ladd McConkey around in this offense, it's going to benefit him versus the shadowing aspect of Pat Surtain. Next up, the social media campaign to get Cameron Dicker into the Pro Bowl every single year is absolute gold. But you know what? This could end up being an ugly game like it was last week. Maybe there's room for a fantasy kicker to come through and be the top scorer here, right?
Yeah, and not just last week, but the last time these two teams played, it was a very much a Cameron Dicker game. He had 3 field goals in that game. One was a 20-yard field goal. Are you kidding me? Y'all kicked a field goal from the 3-yard line. This is 2024, y'all. Like, get it together. That's where you go for it.
Not everybody's Dan Campbell, okay?
But then he had one that was 40 or more yards. And again, like, Denver is a pretty tough defense. And so you could see the Chargers getting them a little bit, getting into field goal range, and then getting shut down. And that's where Cameron Dicker is going to come in. Dicker's been really good this year in terms of his field goal percentage too. I was looking before. He's only missed 2 or 3 field goals this year, and he hasn't missed one in several weeks. So he's been consistent, and it's for that reason that I'm interested in having him in my lineup, especially because he does provide a cheaper salary, and there's not a bunch of good cheap options in this game. It's a very top heavy talent game talent wise. Like, there's like 4 guys up top you want, and then there's big gap. Cameron Dicker fits in that gap.
So I want to go back to McConkey really quick because I needed to pull this stat just to make sure that we were all aware of this. Pat Surtain has run all of 30 coverage snaps out of the slot. He's not going to be on Ladd McConkey, plain and simple. Yeah. He will be the one shutting down Quentin Johnston or Josh Palmer, one of those 2 guys. So don't be afraid of Ladd McConkey. But I like your points on Cameron Dicker. So, all right, Last one before we get to the finale. Deck scrubbers. These are going to be the cheaper punt plays that can make a lineup based on one play, limited opportunity. Let's get right to it. Stone Smart is the new tight end darling. Will Dissly's already been ruled out. What do we like about the man who spells his name with not one, not two, but 3 T's?
Oh, 3 T's. I missed that.
Well, because there's the 1 in the first name and then 2 in the...
Oh, I got you. You're getting clever there. Yeah, so Stone Smart. The reason I like him is because the Chargers are targeting the tight end position. The fact that they made Will Dissly relevant in the year of our Lord 2024 is wild. And now they're making Stone Smart relevant. So that's just the way it is. Like I mentioned, it's a very top heavy game. There's not a ton of cheap options. Stone Smart is one of the few guys in this price range that I'm interested in. And it is hard to fit in all of those top end players. This may be a week where you see some people doing the little like, let's put a $300 player in there and they'll give us a 0 and I'll just pay it for the top 5 guys in the slate. In a very large contest could see doing that, but most of the time will not be doing that. I'll be looking to try and find someone that has more upside. And I think Stone Smart, he could score a touchdown. Like that's all I need from him to pay off at where he's salaried.
So we talked a little bit about Javonte Williams earlier. The tandem mate here, Audric Estime.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Jaleel McLaughlin, so Estime should get more touches. I'm going to say, though, like, again, I've talked a lot about large field contests and referencing those. This is definitely more of a large field tournament play to me than a small field stuff. If you're playing in like 100 to 300 person contest, I don't know that you need to go to Audric Estime. Maybe still be worth it. But if you're playing in one of the larger ones where it's like 10,000 or more contestants, that's where I'm more interested in playing Audric Estime because of the fact that he hasn't been performing well, but Thursday night game. It's a short week for this team. Sometimes when that happens, the backup running back gets a little bit more run than the quote unquote starter. And while it's a committee structure overall, Javonte Williams has still been leading in terms of snaps for this team. They may want to pair that back this week to preserve their number one guy who hopefully is going to help them in the playoffs and say, all right, Audric Estime, this is your chance to go show us what you're made of, rookie, and give him more touches in this matchup. So, and again, like the style of play he has, like he could score some rushing touchdowns towards the red zone. So I like the potential upside for him to be a little bit sneaky in those large field tournaments. Small field, I'm less inclined to do it, but there will be situations where I do it just because it fits salary wise. And I would rather play him than Lil Jordan Humphrey, for example, who may not touch the ball at all.
Oh, Lil Jordan Humphrey. Had to get that one in, didn't you?
Yeah, that was for
one last reminder. One last reminder. You can play these showdown slates against us here at Club Fantasy. Hit the direct link in the description of the video you're watching on YouTube or the podcast that you're listening to on your favorite podcast network. Come on over to DraftKings and try to take our money. Help us fill up a tournament. It's always good fun. Final category here is the Kraken. These are going to be the lineup traps that sink the ship. I want to share this stat that I found that I thought was absolutely amazing. And it lines up perfectly with your choice of Gus Edwards here. Since J.K. Dobbins went down, Chargers running backs have combined for 25 fantasy points over the last 3 games. It's a trap, people!
Yes, it is so gross. I was looking at this and I was like, all off season, we were like, oh, Jim, is this one Jim or this is Jim? Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh is going to ruin the Chargers because they're going to run the ball so much and it's going to ruin Justin Herbert in this pass game. They haven't been running recently. And they definitely haven't been running well. They also haven't been passing a lot, which is interesting. Like there's just not a lot of plays. And I think that's something as a side note worth noting in this game. Like there's not going to be a lot of offensive plays had in this game. It's going to be a slow game. Widen time off the clock and get a nice little 3-yard chunk of nothing and then wind some more time off the clock. And so because of that, I am avoiding Gus Edwards. all together. I was trying to find a way to tell myself a story like, yeah, let's get one of these Chargers running backs in there, flip the game script a little bit. And I was like, I can't make the case for either him or Kamani Vidal, frankly, because neither one of them have shown the upside. If J.K. Dobbins was healthy, I would have had him as a contrarian captain choice. But because of the way they've been playing in recent weeks and the lack of efficiency in the run game, I can't advise playing either Chargers running back in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see what the Chargers do this offseason, just because they need to fill out some skill positions. They need a bona fide wide receiver one. They need a running back. They really need a tight end. But then they've got some older edges on defense that they need to start looking to replace. So they got a lot to play with, and thankfully for them, a lot of salary cap space. But we're not here to talk about all that. This has been Oh Captain, My Captain. Friendly reminder, check out our sister site's partnership with Trophy Smack. Head over to trophysmack.com/WOFF. That's WOFF. And get all of your achievement-based needs as we head into championship season. He is Austin Amandolia at Austin_FFL. I am Josh Hudson at the One Hudsonian. You, of course, can follow everything we do at Club Fantasy. That's at Club Fantasy FFL across the socials. We'll see everybody maybe next week. If not, we got playoffs coming through, and we're going to have a lot of DFS Showdown videos when the playoff season kicks off. Stay tuned, everybody.